something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
It sure is, and welcome to it as we kick off another brand new day here on the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you here as we're fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, which always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole when it's time? And there will be a time. We're burning daylight. Let's get to it. Three big things this hour. Number one, getting up early could soon look a little bit different. That is, if you like coffee like me, you love it like I do. Well, that's because the cost of Joe is on a dramatic rise. How much can you tolerate? Number two, we are a nation that is sick with wicked people. How else can you explain another church shooting, this time in a Mormon temple in Michigan? Evil is real. And the place was burned to the ground. Make no mistake, evil is real. Number three, we're going to start here today. Might not sit well with a few of you, but that's okay. There are thousands of conspiracy theories making the rounds about Charlie Kirk. Should we believe any of them? None of them. Maybe look into some of them. The most popular one, especially on the right, thanks to people like Candace Owens, is that Israel orchestrated a hit against Charlie because he wasn't willing to be bribed to secure college-age kids' unwavering support for Israel. That's one of the theories. I just want to let you know I'm not buying that one at all, and frankly, I'm tired of it. I find it just as out there as those on the left theorizing that Charlie's death was orchestrated by the Trump team to distract from the Epstein files. Yeah, that's what they say. Or the idea that Charlie faked his death and is still alive, or that the Illuminati killed him because of his rare genetics. I mean, good God. How many rabbit holes does it take to fill a vacuum? How many? You know me, I'm all about asking questions. But there's a difference between asking questions and refusing to accept evidence while you sell conspiracy theories behind a subscription paywall at the expense of everyone who's still trying to grieve the loss of Charlie Kirk and move on with his mission to save America. I don't want to see the death of my friend and colleague turn into a circus act of conjecture, sold as entertainment for those who can't accept that sometimes life is just cruel and terrible and unfair, and sometimes good people die at the hands of bad people. Happens every day, just not to famous people every day. Many of these theories drag Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, into it, claiming that her way of grief is faked, that she somehow was behind Charlie's death. I mean, they say this, that she orchestrated her own takeover of Turning Point USA, and I find that one downright despicable. Despicable. Grief is not a formula. It's a human experience that differs from person to person. I think some of these snake oil peddlers should consider the fact that there's a good chance that Erica and Charlie could very well have had this conversation beforehand several times. Charlie knew there was a chance that he could be taken out. He knew there were death threats against him. It would be completely logical for him to have a plan of succession. We know he had TPUSA designed all the way out to 2030, maybe beyond. I want to honor Charlie's legacy by focusing on what was important to him, not focus on a mountain of conjecture that fractures the very base he spent his entire life focused on trying to unite. Like I said, Candace Owens has been one of the most vocal to push her belief that Israel had something to do with Charlie's death. That's her story. Listen to it.
To me right now, it feels, and I'm using a corporate term here, a bit like a hostile takeover. And Charlie's honest ideas are starting to change or maybe add more color. And now he's getting financial threats. He's being called names. He increasingly, he's being told who and what he's allowed to speak to. And he's taking a stance. He's taking a stand privately up to these people. And then it doesn't matter anymore because Charlie's dead. And those very same people who were pressing him are now doing, like, very quickly, trying to set in stone that, Charlie, essentially the energy is Charlie died for Israel. He's just one of us. Nobody ask any more questions. That is literally untrue, and we're not going to allow it, okay?
Her claims rely on a lot of trust me. Because this is what people close to Charlie are telling her, she says in private. She thinks TPUSA has been taken over by Israel, but there's a big problem with that for me. It's been taken over by Charlie's wife, the person who would know most about what Charlie wants and would want to honor his wishes most, and she's surrounded by his inner circle. They're also on board with the entire TPUSA mission. So I'm supposed to trust Candace, someone who split from Charlie years ago, someone who didn't even attend the memorial service because of security concerns, she claimed. Despite the fact that it was considered safe enough for the President of the United States and his cabinet, but no, not for Candace. I'm supposed to trust that more than Erica. Eric Bowling, another friend and colleague of mine who's on the board of Turning Point, doesn't appreciate the slander. He sheds some light on the reality of Charlie's and Candace's relationship. Here, listen.
Early on, 2011, 2012, 2013, they were tight. They grew TPUSA like crazy. I was shocked to see her leave until being part of TPUSA, her theories got just a little bit too down the rabbit holes. It was too extreme for their taste. And Charlie, to his credit, kept a cordial friendship with her for years, but it hasn't been a communication pipeline back and forth between the two for many years. That's why I don't know why we give Candace Owens' assessment any weight at all. I don't see them together. I think Candace has created a lane for herself. Yeah. It's her own lane. She wants to go after Macron's husband or wife or whatever you want to call him. She wants. I agree that I think it's cheap that she is sparking this up like she knows something between something happened between Ackman and Charlie. For what reason?
Here's
for
what
what
I would
reason?
say. To me,
money.
Yeah. Money? For what reason? Now is as good a time, by the way, as any to update you on the massive civil lawsuit. He mentioned it there. Filed against Candace by the French, and let you know that Brigitte Macron's legal team has submitted photographic evidence that she is a woman, which is an upsetting thought, to say the least, and plans to put out more evidence to prove the same. Which, of course, just means that the biggest scandal is still the fact that a 40-year-old woman groomed a 15-year-old boy, Emmanuel, who later became the French president. So, Candace's biggest moneymaker so far seems dead in the water, but I digress. We're supposed to trust Candace more than Erica, but not just Erica, everyone else who was closer to Charlie than she was for years. Those closest to Charlie have denied the claims coming from the anti-Israel crowd. Here's Andrew Colvett, the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show, a very close friend of Charlie's, as you can imagine. And you've seen him sitting in there doing the show since Charlie was killed. Listen to this.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that. Everyone I've asked has said the same thing.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, it doesn't matter the amount that would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point does not, Charlie would not accept foreign money.
Exactly.
We only took American money.
Yep.
There was money sent to us, like practically in multiple instances where they're trying to cram it down our bank account. And we said no. We canceled like money wires and things.
No foreign money, and also no handouts from the government.
It's interesting because there's been a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about, saying a lot of things about this issue. And on the one hand, I love it because you've got the pro-Israel side claiming him, and you've got the anti-Israel side claiming him now, which is a posture.
Yeah. All right, we'll get more into it after this. All right, Charlie was a friend to Israel, but he asked questions just as well as anyone. Hated war just as much as anyone, but he was in no one's pocket and never had been. That's what bothered him. Charlie's pastor, Rob McCoy, has also begged his conspiracy theorists to give it a break, calling out Candace by name specifically. Give it a break, he said. He shared this statement, and I quote, Charlie Kirk was a friend to Candace, never publicly spoke poorly of her, though he disagreed with her. He never operated nor entertained gossip or innuendo concerning Candace. I only wish at this tragic time of mourning she would be the friend to Charlie that he was to her. He would never have treated Candace or her family in such a way had, God forbid, this tragedy been hers. It's worth noting that another of Candace's claims has been that Charlie was about to convert to Catholicism from evangelical, something that everyone close to Charlie, including his wife, has denied vehemently as another flat-out lie. Surprised nobody when Candace blamed Israel because she's made a habit out of that over the last few years. And if you want to know what Charlie himself thought about that, he actually answered a question on this exact topic less than 2 weeks before he was murdered. Listen to this.
That there is a corner of the internet of people that want to point and blame the Jews for all their problems. Everybody, this is demonic and it's from the pit of hell, and it should not be tolerated, period. But it goes to a structural problem of an entire generation that has economic resentment. They don't own anything. They're not getting married. They're not having children. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're staring at their screens all day long. And if all of a sudden your extrapolation of all that is, well, it's the Jews' fault, that is sloppy and shallow thinking.
Yeah. Sloppy, shallow. If we follow Candace's logic, by the way, then she's just as likely to have orchestrated his murder as Israel, since he seemed to critique something she did too, right? But that's not the logic I follow. I follow the evidence, the actual evidence, which is what the FBI and local authorities are in possession of. Candace has called on the FBI and Turning Point USA to divulge all the information they have, all of it. I got to say, just because you have a podcast doesn't mean you get the right to demand information from the government that's vital for an active investigation. And more importantly, to make sure it is a successful prosecution of the killer and anyone else that could be involved. Because yes, that is still part of the active investigation too. Could there be other people that knew about it in advance or helped coordinate or did anything to assist? And when we talk about evidence, I don't think we should discount the fact that Tyler Robinson has confessed to the crime, to his father, to the pastor. We have someone actually taking credit for the kill, and it's believable, to his mother. Not everything has to be so convoluted. One of the biggest takeaways from Charlie's murder is just how far the left's pendulum has swung towards violence against anyone they disagree. We spent a lot of time on this. A lot of Americans, moderates, Democrats, nonpartisans, non-politicals, are waking up to this. I don't want to lose that underneath a cloud of conspiracy theories about foreign governments or cabals who could be responsible when we have someone taking responsibility, a left-wing radical who believed the pundits when they called Charlie Kirk a fascist, a Nazi, a white supremacist. So don't let the left get off so easily by pinning this on someone else. If I'm inclined to think one theory is believable, it's that the text message between Tyler and his roommate/lover are staged to absolve the roommate of any responsibility. But guess what? That's also conjecture. Seems plausible, but I don't know. I'm going to wait on proof before I start running my mouth as if it's a cold, hard fact. And I want to take a moment to say something here, and if I'm wrong on all of this, if I'm wrong on all of it, if there comes indisputable proof that someone other than Tyler Robinson orchestrated this attack, I'll do something you never hear any of these other pundits do. I'll stand here and say I was wrong. I will look you in the eye and say I was wrong. But I'm waiting on the FBI. I'm waiting on people I trust. I mean, we're talking about Kash Patel here, right? He's been in front of many of these conspiracy theorists, and now we're supposed to believe that he's in on it too? Come on, man. It feels a little like we're having a Lord of the Flies moment here. We've gotten so used to not being able to trust anybody or anything that we just don't know who to trust. But J.D. Vance himself commented on the fact that Charlie was instrumental in staffing the White House with people he trusted. I plan on retaining a little bit of that trust in the people that I wanted in here. Aren't you? Because if we get our way, if conservatives are able to gain control of the institutions that matter, and we tear the whole thing apart anyway, with no evidence to do so, what are we doing? We'll crumble. That's not what I want for the future of this country. Jillian Michaels, who's a conservative, who's tired of the distracting theories too, she really put her foot down on this the other day. Listen to this.
Who used to work for the Iran-backed newspaper Al Akbar in Beirut and
also
contributed
Jewish?
to Al Jazeera.
He is, yeah. I mean,
why is it
so-
every time we track down a lie, we end up finding people connected to Qatar or Iran
There's no
behind
proof this
it?
ever happened.
So
None.
Wait, how does that debunk the fact
So
that...
he just read
Okay,
it. and
where's
then-
your proof that $150 million was offered from Bibi Netanyahu?
No, I'm referring...
Where is
Wait,
the proof?
please do not get
No,
angry.
no, no, because I didn't want to cover this, and you guys insisted. And I
Because
told
that's
you,
what the
you cover
marketplace
this
is
I'll rip you apart.
There was a
How
lot of
every
pressure
show
toward
ends up being
Netanyahu.
about how do we bash Israel. This is not for me. I am not interested in this.
Okay,
I love
I
you
know.
guys.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Let's be good.
I
Let's
have
be good about
zero
precious
interest
Israel. Let the
in
country
fucking
committing a
every show
genocide.
doing
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
Zero. I think you guys are great. I fundamentally disagree with you about.
Good for her. Sometimes that's just what you have to do. When the conversation just goes in circles, but not one person producing a shred of evidence, I'm done with this. A lot of questions about the lack of an exit wound from the shot that took Charlie's life, and the doctor has answered that. The bullet was found underneath Charlie's skin after getting obliterated and wedged in the vertebrae, which happens to be exactly what I told you when we first saw videos when it first happened. Andrew Colvett, Charlie's producer, called it a miracle that no one else was killed by the bullet going through, and instead of acknowledging that, we're being told to believe that somehow everyone from Erica Kirk to Kash Patel to the doctor in the ER to those closest to Charlie are all somehow in on covering up the truth behind Charlie's death. Stop it. That's my stance. You're more than welcome to share yours with me, social media. Send me an email to stevegruber.com. Feel free. But I'd encourage you to question these podcasters with just as much discernment as you do everyone else. And I'd encourage you to retain a little faith in the people who knew Charlie best and who want to honor his legacy best. Put a little faith there, would you please? A little faith. Don't let this fracture us, my friends. Don't let this undermine us, all right? I'll take a break and be right back. All right, quick update on this attack on a Mormon church happened Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, happened yesterday, about 10:30 local time. 40-year-old Marine veteran drove his pickup truck into the side of the building, opened fire, at some point set the church on fire, was killed in an exchange with responding police officers and church members. It's all being sorted out. Thomas Jacob Sanford named as the killer. Apparently no connection whatsoever to the church that anybody can figure out. No connection. 4 people dead. They're still going through the rubble of the fire to see if anybody was caught in the fire that died there. What a terrible thing. Another attack on Christianity. And the guys in pictures wearing Trump shirts. So wait for the left to go crazy and tell you how awful right-wingers are in another attempt to cover up what happened to Charlie Kirk and others and the political violence in this country. All right? What if that sore throat and fever that hit you overnight did not mean missing work, begging for a last-minute doctor's appointment, or wasting hours at urgent care? Instead, you could walk to your cabinet, open your medical emergency kit from the wellness company, match your symptoms to the doctor-recommended guide, and start treatment immediately. It's not a first aid kit, it's a mini urgent care right in your home. Inside, you'll find prescriptions to treat over 39 conditions like COVID, strep throat, pneumonia. urinary tract infections, and so much more. No waiting rooms, no pharmacy lines, just the right medicine when you need it. Every home should have one. Ordering is simple. At checkout, complete a short intake form, and a licensed doctor will review your prescriptions and fill them. Your kit arrives in about a week. Be prepared and save yourself time and money. The Medical Emergency Kit puts urgent care in your hands. There it is, folks. Don't let illness catch you off guard. Order your kit now by heading to twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. Use the code Gruber. You'll save up to $30 and get free shipping. Kits are available to U.S. residents only, by the way. And it's not just this kit. There's a first aid kit. There's a travel kit. There's one for kids. Look, we've got them here. We've got them here because they work. And we're glad to have them available. twc.health/Gruber. If you don't have one of these emergency kits, what are you waiting for? Get prepared today. Quick break. I'll be right back.
Ernie Johnson and Charles.
All right, welcome back to it. It'll be a busy day, of course. Arena was the woman that was murdered on that Charlotte Transit train in North Carolina. We all saw it. The look on her face, and then she had been stabbed in the neck by a career criminal. Who then got up and walked through the train. Blood spread through the train from the knife, and several people stood there and watched her collapse and bleed out and die and did nothing. It's horrible to watch. Don Brown is a North Carolina Republican U.S. Senate candidate, former Navy JAG officer, and former federal prosecutor. He's joining me again on the program. Don, nice to have you back.
Thanks for having me, and good morning to you, Steve.
Arenas law. Arenas law, that's what they're calling it. It passed in North Carolina after the refugees killing, a bill that could restart executions in your state. It combats the Democrats' soft on crime policies that led to this murder in the first place. How are we going to stop people that are in and out of jail? This guy had been, 14 times? I think 15 times.
Yeah, 14. And Steve, I commend the Republican North Carolina General Assembly for passing this law. It's designed in large part to stop this revolving door process where you have career criminals just stepping in, getting charged, and being released by magistrates, even though they've got a clear criminal history for this. As these judges were using cashless bail, the law is designed to stop the revolving door foolishness under which the thug who murdered this young lady, Arena, was out. But above and beyond that, in 2012 in North Carolina, and this is a problem across the nation, it's a systemic problem, we had a large psychiatric criminal hospital called Dorothea Dix. It was closed, colloquially known as Dix Hill, was closed. And so in situations where you have folks that, for whatever reason, judges aren't going to try them because they're crazy, we got to have psychiatric criminal facilities to lock them up. We've got to get them off the streets, both at the federal and the state level. The thug that killed this young lady in Charlotte should never have, I've called for the death penalty, clearly. You got to have it quickly and swiftly. But that thug should never have been on the streets at all. And the Democrats ended and basically defunded and closed down the major psychiatric criminal facility that North Carolina was using. It's not been replaced. It needs to be replaced. We need to look at criminal psychiatric facilities as just as much a part of the criminal justice system as long-range prison facilities. You got to get these animals off the street for the sake of the public, and this is systemic failure, and I'm hoping that the General Assembly will look at rebuilding some of the psychiatric facilities to keep these animals off the street.
Yeah, you know, there was a move began in the 1950s in this country to close psychiatric facilities to keep people from having the stigma of they've got mental illness issues. Well, look, do you want stigma, or do you want people like Arena being murdered on the train? I guess it's an easy question for me, not too easy for some other folks apparently. But look, crime and punishment is one of the leading issues of 2025. It'll be a big issue in the Senate race in North Carolina in 26. It is a place, by the way, where Trump and the Republicans have a 20-point or better lead on Democrats because of our approach to law and order. It's critical. People just want to be safe, don't they, Don?
Yes, and of course I'm calling for to expand the federal death penalty. So if there is an attempt at a mass attack, especially against religious institutions or any institution or any public restaurant, as we saw here in the Southport shooting here in North Carolina over the weekend, if there is an attempted mass attack, whether anybody is killed or not in that attack or the conspiracy to commit mass violence, there should be a federal death penalty there. I mean, that affects interstate commerce to a large degree, but we've got to get tougher in punishing these people. The executions have to be swift, they have to be open, and the deterrent has to be real. Right now, we don't have a real deterrent. In North Carolina, we haven't executed anybody since 2006. We have the death penalty on the books, but because the liberal judges, it's been tied up. And hopefully, this Arena's law is going to sort of expedite that a little bit. But you've got to have a real, meaningful deterrent factor for the criminal justice system to work. And we've gotten away from that. We got to get back to it.
Yeah, you got to get back to law and order. Look, the one job of government, Donna, and we talk about this a lot here lately because of all the different things going on. The one job of government, whether it's local, county, state, or federal, is to keep your citizens safe. That's why people are looking at Washington, D.C. I haven't checked. I'm going to go back and check. Since the National Guard came into Washington, D.C., the murder rate plummeted. Carjackings almost ended. And you're going to see this now in Memphis. You're going to see this now in New Orleans. You're going to see this in some other places that really need some critical intervention. But protecting the citizens, that is job one of the government, isn't it?
Yes, it is. When you go to the preamble of the U.S. Constitution, you can see the basic goals of government. One is to ensure domestic tranquility. Yeah. And the Constitution gives, of course, the commander-in-chief the ability to send in federal troops. We don't want it to be the norm. We want it to be the exception. But when you're taking these big Democrat cities that that President Trump is looking to stabilize have become, criminal cesspools because of Democrats' soft on crime policies. And look at what's happened in D.C. Even the Democrat mayor Bowser has acknowledged a dramatic plummeting of the crime rate there. I've called on the president to send the National Guard in to stabilize the Charlotte light rail system, where this poor young lady from Ukraine was murdered, and get it stabilized and force the Charlotte Mecklenburg governing authorities to get police officers back on that train or close it down. But the insurance of domestic tranquility is one of the basic fundamental constitutional rights recognized even in our preamble. And so I commend the president for sending the National Guard in. National Guard can make a big difference. But these Democrat leaders are going to have to get their act together and get thrown out of office, because really we're having a cancerous criminal situation in these cities because of the foolish soft on crime approach that wants to put in shrinks and counselors instead of police officers and law enforcement officials.
Yeah, by the way, let me give you a quick update here. 10 homicides in D.C. I just did a quick check. 10 homicides in D.C. since the 11th of August. It's a 28% drop from the same period a year ago. And here's what's really remarkable about it. If you extrapolate out to make that an annual figure, it means less than 70 homicides in D.C. There haven't been less than 70 homicides in D.C. in a year in my lifetime. Not one. And in fact, usually they're at 125. In some years, they were well over 400. Now, they've come back in recent years to 125 to 200, but this would be less than 70, Don. Enforcing the laws, taking violent criminals off the streets, it actually works. Throwing them in jail actually works. It's a remarkable thing. I'll give you the last word.
Just get them off the streets. Get them off the streets ahead of time, whether it's a jail or a criminal psychiatric facility. Get them off the streets, because our people deserve to be protected. And if they commit the crime, then publicly execute them quickly. And we got to show that we're not going to be soft on crime, and we're going to take a really hard approach against these wild lunatics on the street. They're taking our people out. It's long overdue. And so I'm encouraged with the president's actions, and we got a lot of work to do, but we know what we need to do.
We'll see what happens. All right. Don Brown, real quickly, what is your website where people can learn more about you?
Thank you, Steve. It's Brown, BROWN 4 FORNC.com. Brown4NC.com. Please come on the site. Give us a little bit of contribution if you can. Give us your feedback. We're going to represent the people of North Carolina and look forward to the opportunity to bring the torch of liberty back to the floor of the United States Senate.
There you go. Don Brown, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, so we're continuing this theme of crime and law and order. When we come back as we have thieves that'll actually steal a church. It's crazy. We live in a wild time, don't we? I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Follow me on all the social media platforms. Send me an email, stevegruber.com, the place to find my website. Drop me a line. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Let me share a story with you because this is important. Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones that rip you off the worst. I'm not kidding you. And here I want you to hear this story from West Dallas about a church being stolen by another minister. Wow, listen.
For Pastor Corey Maxey, it wasn't just about fraud on paper. It was about losing a place of worship.
I didn't understand how the law did not help us out when we had documentations of who I am and all of that.
And the fraud done by someone who called himself a pastor.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Joining me now, Natalie Dominguez, Title Theft Education Specialist for Home Title Lock. Natalie, nice to have you back on the program. So here I am looking at an unbelievable story. Those that you should be able to trust the most, pulling a dirty deed like this. It literally was one congregation moved out so they could do some improvements on the building. Another congregation moves in fraudulently, refuses to leave, and the system was like, can't help you. It's crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the worst part here, it's not just that they moved in and they refused to move or the law couldn't do anything. It's that in this case, the other pastor had gone in and actually filed fraudulent paperwork with the county that put the church in his or the congregation's name. The report unfortunately doesn't say. But what this means is that when this was reported to the police and when this was brought to court to evict them, on record, they had ownership of the church.
Right.
So there was literally nothing they could do.
And for Corey Maxey here, the guy we just saw in that news clip, it was his grandfather's church, founded by his grandfather in the family for all of these years. And it gets stolen out from under him by this pastor, Whitney Foster, who claimed ownership, as we just talked about. And then he just moved his whole crew in. What do you do at that point?
I mean, at that point, if you don't have some sort of, safety net or backup plan, the only thing that you can do is hire a lawyer and try to get the process of proving that it's fraud started. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know where to start in one sense, and then in the other sense, and in the case of the pastor here, Pastor Maxey, he didn't have the funds for a long legal battle. So they kind of did what they could to try to get them evicted, but didn't have the resources to be able to take this to court and get this reversed all the way through.
Basically, what happened is he lost his grandfather's church through no fault of his own. It's not like they were foreclosed on. It was not like they were behind on payments. Nothing like that. He got robbed. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. He was robbed, and then his congregation scattered to the wind, didn't they?
Yep. And the unfortunate part about this situation is they actually found out that Foster had done this to 3 other churches and somehow had gotten him, the report unfortunately doesn't say, we've been researching a little bit more, but somehow had been convicted of stealing 3 other churches. And this is the craziest part to me is that although this person is now serving I think it's a 24-year sentence for doing this to 3 other churches, the original pastor, Pastor Maxey, has not been able to get the church back in his name. He and his congregation are still out of the church, and the church is still in this guy's name that's in jail. Yep. As far as we know, yes, when this report came out.
So 8 years later, if I'm doing the math right here, 8 years later, this Foster is in prison for a few decades, and they still can't get their building back. How is that even possible?
As far as the reports show, it just means that they didn't have the resources to take it to court. And because they didn't have the resources to do it themselves, the law isn't really on their side. In a lot of cases, this is a civil matter, so it's completely separate from any potential criminal proceedings that are going on. So even though this man is in jail, it doesn't automatically reverse the process.
And here's another part of the story. Natalie, and I want to get to this. That church building that you just mentioned, sitting there, dilapidated now, run down, but it's on really valuable land. And you know how this works. Then the other serpents come in and circle around because they want to develop that land. I don't know if he'll ever get it back.
I mean, hypothetically, if from what we know, the church is still in the guy's name that's in prison, I mean, he could technically sell it from prison if I'm correct on that if it's still in his name. So unfortunately, because this hasn't been reversed or taken out of the criminal's name, he still has access to the property.
Yeah.
So this is why it's very important. Time is of the essence to just get started and get on that process. And the scary thing here for a lot of people, when we talk about these things with you, we usually talk about homeowners, vacant land, but really it's any property in America that has a parcel number. So this can happen to churches, it can happen to apartment buildings, it can happen to vacant land, it can happen to an Airbnb or your elderly grandma's house. So this story, the reason why we wanted to highlight this with you is just because, yeah, you think it's not going to happen to you, but it can literally happen to anyone. And
Any
anything.
property with value. I mean, that's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Any property that has equity and value can be transferred. Maxi's story, by the way, one of several high-profile cases in Texas that pushed state lawmakers to pass Senate Bill 16, a new law that makes real property theft a crime. So we're making progress here, but that's just one place and that's just one bill. This goes on far too often to far too many people. So when you say it can happen to anyone, it can, but you can protect yourself, can't you?
Absolutely. So we as a company do something very different. There are a couple other companies out there that claim to monitor, but as we talk about all the time, monitoring is not enough. This is a legal loophole, in the system where anyone can do this at any time. So unless lawmakers are putting things in place at the start, criminalizing afterwards really still does nothing for anyone but the government, right? And
Yeah.
putting these people in jail doesn't do anything for the homeowner. So what we do is we're 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and then the most important part is restoration. This is something that only we do. And that means that we're going to spend up to $1 million. And as long as it takes, whether it's months or even years, which does happen all the time, to get this reversed at no cost to the homeowner.
Which is
So
key.
our restoration is the most important part.
You know, you can check in your home's title right now. Make sure you're not a victim already. Use the promo code Gruber at HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com. Make sure your title is still in your name. You'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, like she said, up to $1 million to fix it. Natalie, greatly appreciate you being here. What a story. What a story.
Thanks, Steve. We're so glad that you're covering these things.
All right. We'll talk again soon. Again, go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber, and you'll be able to protect yourself. You'll sleep well tonight knowing it's still your home or business or even a church. I'll be right back. Well, fun in the chat rooms today, which is fine. I'm being I'm being accused of only meeting Charlie one time. Really? Well, this is a perfect example of how conspiracy theories get started. Woman on here is claiming that I on live TV said I only met Charlie once. No, what I said was my kids had a chance to meet him back during the inauguration. It was great. Got pictures taken, loved it. I met Charlie many times because we worked out of the same studios in D.C. He wasn't always there, but when he was, we talked. I met him at TPUSA events and other places, and I considered him a friend and a colleague. Did I know him as well as others? No, I didn't. Knew him well enough to call him a friend and a colleague. And so there you go. And would it really matter? If I'd never met Charlie at all, would it make any difference? No. I'm over the conspiracy theory nonsense. Let the investigation do what it needs to do. All right? The good news is Charlie was honored. If Penn State did not win the football game, but they won the argument. On Saturday, they had a whiteout, as they call it, in Happy Valley. And a bunch of those white shirts were shirts that said freedom. Just like the one that Charlie was wearing the day that he died. Freedom. So there you go. And that's how you win. Continue to honor the legacy. Arguing about some of this stuff is just so silly. Anyhow, Benny Johnson, who spoke at the memorial, a guy who does this, right? Talks to people every day, handed out 5,000 shirts at Beaver Stadium that said freedom. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I think that's just great that he did that. I do. By the way, this weekend, we watched a little football. We did. And we also watched Hillsdale College's Aristotle's Introduction to Ethics. Ivy and I did. We got through about half of the episode. We don't do Netflix anymore. We're done with that. We go to Hillsdale College and learn something about Aristotle, about the pursuit of what is good. You should be doing the same thing. You should. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. It's free. Gruber for Hillsdale.com. It's free. All sorts of different topics. The American Revolution, the Founding Fathers. Aristotle is fabulous. Larry Aron teaching the class. It's really, really good. Anyhow, God bless America. We got 2 more hours to go. Stay with us here on the Steve Gruber Show. something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. It's what I do here, right? It's what we do here. Who do you want in your foxhole? Oh, and by the way, something else we do here, if we're wrong, I'm not afraid to tell you. I'm not afraid to tell you if I'm wrong. When you talk about this many things, yeah, you're going to be wrong from time to time. 3 big things to know this hour. Number 1, in New York City, they're about to roll out these 32-foot 5G towers along city streets. They're ugly and kind of odd, and residents are asking, are they even safe to be around? You got to see these things. All right, and number 2, in Des Moines, Iowa, the superintendent of the 30,000 student school district, 30,000 kids, Des Moines Public Schools, arrested for being an illegal alien in the country. Yeah, you heard me right. The superintendent of schools, Des Moines, Iowa, an illegal alien arrested. How can that even happen? How can that even happen? And number 3, let's just talk. It's liberal policies. It's got to be. How do you end up with a guy who's in the country illegally with an order to be deported? Did they ever do a background check? Did he fill out an application? Does anybody even know who this guy is? No, we'll get back to that. But it is these leftist policies I'm going to focus on here for a minute. For example, Sunny Hostin. I haven't had The View on in a while. You know, and when I see, I don't mean on my TV. I mean, I haven't mentioned them in a while. But it's remarkable. Here's another program that has to be costing the network piles of money. Piles of money. It has to be, right? And they keep funding it. I don't know why. There's no way you got, 5, 6, 7 hosts, whatever it is. They're all getting substantial paychecks. Does The View make enough money to cover that, plus all the staff and the producers and the photographer? I don't know. Sunny Hostin, though, they're black woman, right? And she says that black women are just incapable of functioning on their own. I mean, that's my takeaway from this comment. They're you know, if you tell them they need ID to vote, they're just going to fall apart. Listen.
Don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where black people had to prove their right to vote. And oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really the bottom line is voter suppression. And I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote. And most democracies do it that way. We're the only ones that really don't do it that way.
Right. I mean,
yeah, these poor black women, if they have to have ID, man, they're just not going to function. I mean, seriously? This is what of course, she lives in some gated community somewhere in some insulated world. Immune to facts. Factual immunity they have there on the left, clearly. I mean, everybody, look, every state in America offers IDs free of charge. If you can't afford one, they'll make sure you get one. And most places, obviously, will also try to get you into the Secretary of State or wherever you need to be to get that driver's license or government ID. It's there for everyone. So, crazy ideas. How about this one? We'll stay with leftist insanity for a second. Shifting gears to a different lane. Bill Gates. You ever seen a guy you trust less than Bill Gates? Think about that. Do you trust this guy with anything? Here's a guy who's pushing the vaccines, who's pushing different things, who now is pushing the idea that farmers can't grow crops. Crops cannot be grown because of climate change. I mean, I don't know where you live. Here in southern Michigan, I look around the corn, the beans, the wheat. It's fall harvest time. You go to the farmers markets, they are loaded with pumpkins and squash and tomatoes and everything you can imagine, everything under the sun. Brussels sprouts, which I love, by the way. It doesn't seem to be a problem to grow much of anything. But here's Bill Gates trying. desperately to instill fear. Listen.
Very, very important meeting. The issue of health and climate will be discussed at length. That's never gotten the attention it deserves. The issue of food systems and how with climate change, a lot of farmers aren't able to grow their crops, which is a tragedy for them.
Farmers aren't able to grow their crops where? Who buys this stuff? Who buys this idea? Farmers can't grow their crops because of climate change. Here's a fundamental fact. Heat and water make things grow. If the world's getting hotter and there's more water, as they keep claiming, more heat, more water, more crops, more trees, more grass to mow, which is annoying as you can imagine. Come on. Who trusts that guy to do anything? Meanwhile, Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy, a guy who's been kind of under the radar for the Trump administration, he calls out the climate scam for exactly what it is. Listen.
I think President Trump nailed it right on, clearly, in straight common sense language. Look, the UN climate hysteria has led to $5 trillion spent on wind, solar, batteries, and grid infrastructure to enable them to connect up to the grid. They've just hit 2.6% of global energy, and everywhere they've had meaningful penetration, you've had higher energy prices, higher electricity prices, higher energy prices overall. And as the president rightfully said, that's just move industries out of Germany and England and the United States and shipped them all to China. Huge win for China, huge loss for American citizens, huge waste of $5 trillion. And it slowed energy access for people that want to live better lives. Like, can you name a bigger con job than that?
No. Thank you for asking. No, I cannot. Thank you so much for asking, Mr. Secretary. A bigger con job than that? No. China's building coal-fired power plants every single day. They're under construction today as we speak. They'll finish another 1 or 2 this week, another 1 or 2 next week, and on and so forth. While we're bulldozing power plants, they're building new ones because they know that energy is the future. Because it takes money to mine cryptocurrency, for example. By the way, do you have any? Hardworking Americans were often left behind, but not anymore. Block Trust IRA changing the ability for you to get crypto. Real opportunities. Crypto is fueling President Trump's America First economic miracle as well. Now's your chance to join the movement. The Animus AI trading platform runs 24/7. It crushes old school strategies, helps people like you build wealth, just like the elites. It's been named the #1 crypto tech platform by Bitcoin Magazine. Block Trust IRA offers up to $200 million in protection. Its clients are seeing returns over 250%. Whether you're a teacher, trucker, retiree, or small business owner, this is your time. Get up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you sign up right now. $2,500 in bonus crypto. What do you have to do? Go to SteveGruberCrypto.com. I own crypto. Took me a while to get my mind around it, but there I am. SteveGruberCrypto.com. Yes, I'm a believer. Making retirement great again, SteveGruberCrypto.com. I'll take a break. I'll be right back. Good to see you today. All right, back to it now. Here's a line as we shift gears a little bit here. Injury lawyers turn New York courts into Ellis Island for illegal aliens. Really? What does that mean? Well, what it means is that some of these illegals are coming here, and then they will stage an accident. They'll stage an accident, act as if they're injured, and then try to take people to court to get money so they can pay the people who smuggled them into the country in the first place and pay off their debts, and so on and so forth. Really? Apparently. Lauren Zelt is the executive director of Protecting American Consumers Together. Lauren, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So these illegal stage accidents, hit and runs, whatever, personal injury, whiplash, is that what we're talking about? What's going on here?
That's exactly what we're talking about. So there's been reporting in Legal Newsline that has uncovered a significant scam of stage accidents that are affecting cities and towns across the country. So what happens is these illegal immigrants will come here, often with the help of coyotes, and then they will turn around and work with a billboard attorney to stage an accident to sue either a business, a municipality, basically anyone that is set up to give them a large payment so that they can pay back their coyote and get their life started in America. It's happening in cities across the country, and it's not just limited to car accidents. We're also seeing workplace accidents and other accidents like slip and falls at major businesses around the country.
So let me be clear about this, Lauren. You said billboard lawyers, right? Billboard. Those are the guys you see along the highway everywhere. Hey, we sue, we win, and all that happiness, right? But I just want to make sure we're clear on the way you said this. They get together with billboard lawyers and do this. Are you suggesting the lawyers, some of them might be involved in the scam?
Oh, absolutely. The lawyers are often 1,000% involved in the scam. In order to, it starts from the very, very beginning. I mean, what we're seeing in some places like New York, you have entire apartment buildings who are clients of one or two lawyers in particular. They all work with the same lenders and they all work with the same doctors in order to perform medical procedures that aren't needed so that they can up the cost of the settlement, paying the lawyer more and paying the person who brought the suit more as well.
I have a term for that where I grew up. It's called felony. That's a felony. I mean, how are they doing this? I mean, it would be reasonably easy to figure out if there was an investigation, wouldn't it?
Yes. And so at Protecting American Consumers Together, we're looking into this very closely because we're seeing it perpetuated in cities across the country. But not only that, this is costing the American consumer a lot of money. Frivolous lawsuits tend to cost the average American family about $4,200 a year. That's the average. In some places, it can be a lot higher, places like Washington, D.C., California, other places that have a high incidence of frivolous lawsuits. But these costs are passed on to consumers. We're seeing it, if a business is sued, they have to make ends meet. And so they often are raising their prices to deal with frivolous litigation. Same with cities and municipalities. If a city gets sued, they often have to cut city services. We've seen this in some of the more liberal cities, I would say, in California, some Los Angeles in particular. They're facing significant budget shortcuts because of all the lawsuits that have been brought against the city.
So I see one here. I mean, I see you've got a whole list of examples here. These people, they pick up workman's comp and they get $1,200, $1,400, $1,500 a month. But then the lawyers get in there and all of a sudden they're getting a lot more than that. Tell me about some of these settlements that these guys are racking up.
Oh, they're astronomical. They can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so now, I will say a lot of that money goes directly back to the lawyers.
Of course it does.
And on to their favorite Democrat politicians. I would imagine your audience might have something to say about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these settlements are astronomical, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's really difficult for the businesses that they're brought against, especially because they're fraudulent. If folks have a legitimate claim, of course we support them seeking justice and getting the treatment that they deserve from the courts. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about staged accidents from start to finish that are really just a scam that costs consumers money, and in some cases is paying back coyotes for getting people into this country illegally.
So here's the part that I'm trying to understand. So Case Cash, Wall Street Case Advance, these are payday lending companies that are involved in this circle of fraud too?
They're not payday lending companies, but they operate a lot like payday lending companies because the fees that they charge are just astronomical. But often the medical lien companies is what they are more associated with in this industry. They'll often share ownership or share business connections with the attorneys and sometimes with the doctors too. It's a staged scam from start to finish.
Yeah, I'm one group gets $427,000. $700,000 goes to Case Cash, Wall Street Case Advance 53. Everybody's making money here. The doctor got 68 grand, and on and on and on. It's unbelievable. We need investigations here, Lauren. We need some of these folks to be arrested, some of these lawyers to be arrested, some of these doctors to be arrested, and marched in front of the camera and made examples of. I mean, how else are you going to stop this? I'll give you the last word.
Well, thank you very much for bringing attention to this issue today. I know it's a busy news cycle, so we appreciate it. If folks would like to learn more, they can go to protectingamericanconsumers.org. We'd be happy to hear your story. If you've been affected by a billboard attorney that's negatively impacted your life, we'd love to talk to you and learn more. But yeah, so protectingamericanconsumers.org, folks can go there and take this issue up.
There you have it. Lauren Zell, greatly appreciate it. protectingamericanconsumers.org. If you know of a scam or think you smell one, and they're pretty easy to figure out, check them out. Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
Remarkable, right? Everybody's, it's a business plan. That was for a lot of these so-called charities that were getting $300 and $400 a day to house these illegals. So many of them still are, just no new customers since the Trump administration came into power. No new customers. We'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so in the NFL over the weekend, the Steelers were in Ireland to play the Vikings. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. I didn't really know that. But here's the headline. Steelers' Skylar Thompson, he's a backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers. He was robbed in Dublin. So apparently Dublin not too safe either. We'll have no further comment at this time, said the league. We're working with the NFL security to gather more information regarding the incident. He was apparently robbed and smacked around. I mean, that's the takeaway here. He's got some injuries after being robbed in Dublin, the backup quarterback who was in town for that football game. You know, I mean, how much do you need to see? How much do you need to know? Crime, law and order. Liberal policies on crime. The West is dying at the hands of criminals, all kinds of criminals. Those importing people, those committing violent crimes, those bringing in drugs. Crime, a pivotal issue to save the West. It's a fact. Are you tired of being in pain every day? Try ExodusNow.com. It's a natural holistic supplement that I take every day. It combines 2,000 years of ancient wisdom with modern science. It features 7 biblical ingredients: frankincense, myrrh, cumin, paired with the groundbreaking benefits of molecular hydrogen. Designed to soothe joint and muscle discomfort, boost your energy, and reduce inflammation. If you're living with chronic inflammation, trust me, you're not alone, but you don't have to suffer anymore. Try ExodusNow.com. Try ExodusNow.com. You'll be glad you did. All right, we got a lot to cover here today. Coming up in the program, the West Virginia State Treasurer, as West Virginia has officially banned state investment in Chinese-owned companies. That's a nice step forward. Nice job, West Virginia. We're going to have more on that Grand Blanc Township church shooting and fire that happened in Michigan yesterday. We'll have that from Katie Hyde. And then later, Mike Bishop will be here, former member of Congress, talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination, the ICE shooting, the attack on the Grand Blanc school and church, so much more. Glad to see you here today. We'll be back. All right, here we go. In West Virginia, a major new policy to divest all state funds from Chinese-owned companies. No more investing in communism. No more investing in those that are openly at war with us, because it's an asymmetrical war, whether you believe it or not. We're at war with China. They understand that. Whether or not America and the West understands that is another question. Larry Pack is the West Virginia State Treasurer joining me now. Larry, nice to see you here.
Hey, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm well. I'm glad you're here. I think this is an important first step by a state to say we're done here. And so the divestment, how long does it take? Do you get your money back that you've invested? Does it hurt West Virginia? Does it help West Virginia? I know it helps America long term because we're going to be investing in ourselves. What's the short-term play here?
So the short-term play, I came in office in January, so I've been working on this ever since I came in the office, really almost a little bit before. So back early in the year, I think in March or February, we divested from China with respect to short-term investments. So we have two different investment arms. We have a long-term investment arm, which we call the Investment Management Board. We also have a short-term investment arm, which we call the Bureau of Treasury Investments. So we got that done, got everything taken care of to divest from on the short term earlier in the spring. Just last week, we approved our plan to divest from our long-term investments, which you think about pension, mostly pension plans is what that is. So by January of 2026, January 1 of 2026, we'll be all out of China.
Yeah. $77 million at least is what you've identified, right? That needs to be extracted from the Chinese. I mean, look, I get it. 20 or 25 years ago looked like a great place to put money. It did, but it's pretty clear, Larry, that China has China's interest in mind. And I get that. That's what they should have in mind. But we're at war with China, whether we understand that on this side of the ocean or not. China is working every day to subvert Western culture, to subvert us, whether it's through students or investment or, look, they steal intellectual property routinely. It's part and parcel for what they do, isn't it?
It really is, and it's a shame that we've had to do this. It's a shame we invested with them to start with, but this experiment, which is whether it's 20 years or 40 years of trying to bring China into to Western values to help them build their economy so they would adopt our values. It's just a failure, and it's absolutely hurt us in so many different directions. As you say, every day they're working against us, whether it's selling arms to our enemies, where they're stealing our intellectual property, definitely stealing our jobs. I mean, in West Virginia, we have so many closed down factories and so many closed down mills because those jobs went overseas. And again, they continue to fight us. They continue to try to undermine our policies, the U.S. policies. So this was the right thing to do. It was common sense. But I've only been in government for just about 2 years after 40 years in the private sector. So trying to bring some common sense policies to the state government of West Virginia, this is one of those things we need to do. We got it done. Like I say, shouldn't have taken so long, but glad we got this accomplished.
Yeah, you proposed back in March, shortly after you took office, prohibited foreign investments policy to the West Virginia Board of Treasury Investments. That's a good move. You also banned the use of Chinese artificial intelligence like DeepSeek on all West Virginia state treasury devices, Alipay, a Chinese-based wallet system, and more. Look, AI can help you identify some of these things you're probably trying to root out and pull out by the root. But also these AI things can get in there and create havoc because they're from people we don't want to deal with, right?
Oh, there's no question. What I think a lot of folks don't understand, and every company that's in China has someone from the Communist Chinese Party in their boardrooms.
Or more than one, right?
Yeah, more than one. There's nothing happens in China that the Chinese Communist Party does not approve. And so when we work with their software, we need to understand that all that software has some sort of spyware in there. It has some sort of way for the Communist Party to get our information. And so again, it's just another common sense thing that we should have done a long time ago. Is we're prohibiting those type things from being on any technology equipment that we have in the Treasurer's office. Again, it needs to be done, should have been done earlier, but we're trying as much as possible to start pushing back against China. This experiment has been really terrible for West Virginians and also, I think, terrible for the country.
Yeah, so what would your advice be to other states? I mean, here's the problem. If people like you in West Virginia, deep red states, say, hey, we should do this, then the blue states automatically turn their back on you. I mean, I honestly believe if Donald Trump came out and said smoking is bad for you, the next day you'd see people on TikTok lighting up filterless Pall Malls, smoking all the way down the street. I mean, that's how silly it's gotten. If Donald Trump says, don't smoke, people will smoke. It's just weird. And so when you have a good idea like this, do you feel like you're being shunned? Because this should be something that's done across the country. It shouldn't just be West Virginia setting the stage, right?
I agree. I think you'll see more and more red states take up these policies. Some has. Arkansas, I think, already has. A few others have as well. It's just common sense. They're taking our jobs. They're working against us. I mean, just think about from the situation they gave. China gave us COVID, right? They didn't try to help us get out of that situation. They're sending fentanyl in here every day. So we just have to push back. I think the blue states will eventually get it, but the blue states also need to understand that they're losing jobs to China. And so it's just the right thing to do that needs to be done.
There you go. Larry Pack, West Virginia State Treasurer. Where do you go from here? I'll give you the last word. What's next, and how do you finish?
I think we continue to push back against China. We continue to try to look at other different opportunities and so forth, and just look at different places within state government that they've got into our system, and we need to make sure that we can get them out.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you being here. It's an important topic, Larry, and I'm glad you're doing the right thing. Good work. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
Larry Pack, West Virginia State Treasurer. No more investment in China. I think it's brilliant, actually. It's the way it should be. Getting detached from all of that. All right? Getting detached from all that. Here's a little headline from our friends over at MSNBC. Michael Cohen. You remember Michael Cohen? The pride of Cooley Law School. The former fixer for Donald Trump is what he was called. Ended up in jail for committing crimes. He said yesterday on MSNBC that, James Comey, he's going to be found guilty. I believe he likely committed a crime. And the people about broke their necks there on the panel. Whoa, what? Yeah. I don't know what crime it is, but there are hundreds of thousands of documents. The government has each and every one of them. All they need to find is one. I know better than anybody what a weaponized DOJ looks like and feels like. It is insurmountable. He was attacked, of course, by the Biden administration. And a weaponized DOJ is what he's saying. And he's saying that James Comey committed a crime. And it's just a matter of identifying what crime that is. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at Cardone. Look, if you're a business owner, and you want some free tips today how to grow that business free, go to Gruber10x.com. We're offering free business advice. You want to break through those ceilings? You want to break through those revenue buffers? You want to get to the next level? You want to get to the top and ring the bell? Go to Gruber10x.com. It's a free phone call. Usually costs you about $500. Today it's free. All right? Why? Because I want your business to grow and thrive. I've been doing 10X for a while now. Really good for us. Hope it's really good for you. Gruber10x.com. Business owners, get on it. I'll be right back. All right, following up on that, a terrible attack on a Mormon church happened yesterday morning about 10:30 local time, Grand Blanc Township, Michigan. The assailant, a 40-year-old former U.S. Marine, from what we understand, rammed his pickup truck into the side of the building, began shooting, and at some point during that time frame also, it looks like, put some sort of accelerant, that means gasoline, set the church on fire. Total loss. At least 4 people have died as a result of all this chaos. Katie Hyde from Michigan News Source here with me today. Katie, just another terrible story. Apparently, from what I understand, and you would know more probably, but no connection between this guy who lived nearby, a few miles away, to this congregation, to anybody there. No connection at all, except that he went and killed these people. What can you tell us?
It appears it may take a couple more days for police to investigate and figure out what the exact motive is, whether he had a connection to this church, to specific people in the church, whether he was an attender. There are all sorts of details that need to be worked out. But whenever those details come out, it doesn't erase the tragedy that has occurred in this community. And you went over it a little bit. This is what we know from the several press conferences that police, not just locally, but also Michigan State Police, the FBI, and the ATF gave yesterday. It happened around 10:25 in the morning. A man named Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old man from nearby Burton, rammed his truck into the church. He got out of the truck and used what police called an assault rifle to shoot 10 people. Then he set the church on fire. They said that within 30 seconds of him arriving and them receiving word that this was going on, that law enforcement arrived on the scene. They were able to neutralize everything within 8 minutes, and they shot Sanford dead at the scene. But before he was shot, 10 people shot at that time. 2 people died, 8 in the hospital in various conditions. And then after the church burned, which is a total loss, law enforcement found 2 more bodies. They said yesterday, as they continue to secure the scene and put out the rest of the fires that may pop up after a huge burn like that, that they may find more victims. And it's just a tragic thing for this community. Because of the families it has touched and because of the investigations that are ongoing today related to this, Grand Blanc Public Schools and Goodrich Schools, along with a private school in the Grand Blanc area, are closed today.
Yeah, all closed. Of course, there'll be a lot of speculation. There were some pictures I saw online of this assailant, this killer, wearing a Trump shirt. So, of course, that'll be the direction this is carried by those on the left side of the media, for sure. That'll be all they focus on. But what about this violence? I mean, targeting churches. It's another attack on another church. This one, it was burned to the ground, wasn't it? There's nothing, it's total loss.
There's total loss.
Yeah, so
yes,
what about this?
President Trump has addressed this. He was alerted and informed about the situation yesterday, and he had called it an attack on Christians. And I think if you sat a Christian and a Mormon in a room together, that they would have some differences. Their faith in who Jesus was and the inerrancy of the Bible, they believe things differently. But that's neither here nor there. When you live in America, you should be expected to go to your house of worship and leave with nothing more than peace and guidance and a sense of clarity for your life. Freedom of religion is one of those main principles this country was founded on, and you should not be leaving with a sense of terror or in a body bag. And these types of situations, this violence that has been unleashed for whatever reason, needs to be addressed. And as we figure out the motive, we need to move forward, I think, as houses of worship in this nation, to figure out what a secure place of worship looks like. What are they going to do to protect their congregation? What's a plan that they're laying out if someone who comes in and looks odd and doesn't belong? What is our plan of attack to protect our parishioners? And this is something, unfortunately, that we have to have this conversation moving forward because it's the world that we live in.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, Steve, where we're going to have to look at it, and it's so unfortunate.
Well, another one of the stories at MichiganNewsSource.com today, one of your top stories today, an anti-Semitic ranter who terrorized preschoolers at a Jewish school, Temple Beth El, sentenced to nearly 3 years. This happened December 22. Hassan Shukir showed up outside the Temple Beth El in Bloomfield Hills, threatening everybody, parents, students. So he's on his way to jail. This is another attack on people of faith, again in Michigan. But this guy is going to prison for 3 years, right?
Correct. Yep. He's going to prison and terrorizing not just people, but young children. We would all agree this is not something that we want to see. And so the principles that America stands on, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are things I believe that we need to get back to. What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to be a good neighbor? What does it mean to live in liberty and freedom within the confines of the law that has been in place, but also be able to disagree and say, I wouldn't walk into that house of worship. I wouldn't vote that way, but I don't want those people dead. And that's the chasm that we're seeing today, is that there is no middle ground of saying, you disagree, I see things another way, but I think we can go out and have a bite to eat together. There is such a divide. And I don't know how you unify with people who disagree with you in such a hateful way, that people who perhaps want you dead because of what you're saying or how you're living. There's no unification with that. But I do think that it could be a time of reflection of what it means to live in America and be an American.
I agree with you, because my concern is it's going to get worse. It's a concern of a lot of folks. My concern is that just wearing a red hat in public might get you shot in the near future, just because that's the craziness and the insanity that's going on. Katie, I got to leave it there. Michigan News Source Assistant News Director Katie Hyde, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. She's right. How do we live as Americans? How do we go have lunch with somebody we disagree with? Simply, you go ask them, hey, you want to have lunch? Don't have to agree, but do need to talk. Something that Charlie Kirk was right about. When we stop talking, that's when violence gets started. We'll take a break. It is the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. All right, time to check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
Palmbush. 13 games in the NFL yesterday. AFC winners included Buffalo, Houston, and Kansas City. NFC winners included Philadelphia, Detroit, and the LA Rams. Green Bay and Dallas played to a 40-40 overtime tie. In golf, Europe won the Ryder Cup yesterday, beating the United States 15-13, despite the U.S. winning 6 of the 12 singles matches in New York. It's the first time since 2012 that Europe has won the Ryder Cup on U.S. soil. It was the final day of the Major League Baseball regular season yesterday. Toronto and Cleveland clinched division titles, while New York Yankees, Detroit, and Cincinnati clinched wildcard berths. The wildcard round of the playoffs begin tomorrow afternoon. In the WNBA playoffs, Indiana forced a fifth and deciding game in the semifinals, beating Las Vegas 90-83, but Phoenix advanced to the finals, knocking off Minnesota 86-81. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. There you have it. You going to church on Sunday? We were in church yesterday, of course. Anthony was in church. I said it was a little warm. That happens. But was the church full you were in, Anthony? Good numbers?
It's a small town church.
Right.
But they said that actually, a bunch of new people. Yesterday was one of the busiest days they've had in a long time.
Years, right. Years. That's what's
happening. The last couple
happening.
Weeks have been pretty good turnout.
Yep, that's what happened. It's called the Charlie effect, I guess. And there you go. So you went there with, I assume you went with your girlfriend?
Went with my girlfriend and my grandma and her sister.
Very nice.
And my grandma paraded us around the whole church, showing us off to all of her friends.
Look at these cute young people.
Yep.
Look at these young people. Yeah, very nice. That's cute. Makes me laugh. Let's see here. Coming up in the next hour, Mike Bishop's going to be here. It used to be my member of Congress, was my representative in Congress was Mike Bishop. I think the world of him. He'll be here. Dave Preston, who represents Michigan's 108th up in the far north, will be here. And, of course, Ivy will be here as well. You don't want to miss any of that, right? All right. We'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Well, it sure is. I'm glad to have you on board with the conversation as we do this every single day from 6 to 9 Eastern Time, live on Real America's Voice, live on all the streaming platforms. Glad to have you there as well. Fighting for you from the foxhole freedom every single day. Who do you want in your foxhole? It's an important consideration. 3 big things this hour. Number 1, Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today. Trump says there's a real chance for peace in Gaza. We'll see what happens there as the rest of the world is now identifying Palestine and recognizing it as a real country. Number 2, big Supreme Court shutdown coming as the administrative state could be on life support soon. We'll have that. And number 3, the government shutdown. What's the date today? It is the 29th. Apparently the government could shut down in a day or two, right? In a day or two. Democrats clearly want this government shutdown. They think they can blame it on Donald Trump, wrap it on him. But here's why he's saying no. These Democrats want $1 trillion in assistance to illegal aliens. $1 trillion for people that don't belong here. For people that have come into our country illegally. All right? So the Democrats want a government shutdown. They can blame on Trump. I don't know if it works that way, but listen.
This is a simple 7-week funding resolution to allow us to do a normal appropriations process, something that Democrat senators have said that they want to see done, but something that Leader Schumer didn't do when they had the majority. They didn't do appropriations bills. This is new leadership. We're trying to do appropriation bills in the old-fashioned way, in an open, transparent way, where the Appropriations Committee writes the bills with Democrat and Republican input, reports them out to the floor, where we have an open amendment process. This is simply about keeping that appropriations process going. I don't know what we're supposed to be negotiating. We did this 13 times when they had the majority, and in every circumstance, Republicans delivered the votes, so much so that the lowest vote count on all 13 of those was 65 senators. This is a simple, straightforward deal to keep the government running, so for the next 7 weeks, we have an opportunity to finish the appropriations process. They're trying to hijack it and load up all this liberal special interest stuff that they're working with these outside groups to do. It's politics. It is political posturing. They are afraid of their base, and they're trying to do something to get them motivated and not angry at them.
And not angered at them. There you go. Senator John Fetterman, by the way, is going to irritate his Democrat colleagues and friends. He says it's wrong to shut down the government. He says it's wrong. He can't support it. Listen.
Where are you on this issue, and do you expect a government shutdown Tuesday night?
Where I'm at, where I've always been, and I will always remain on, is it is always, always wrong to shut our government down. That is a core responsibility. I'm always going to vote against those things.
Yeah, always going to vote against those things, as you should. As he should, right? So the government shutdown's coming. We'll see what happens with that, right? We'll see if that plays out. Meanwhile, I do want to talk about this Supreme Court case. The administrative state being all these agencies that basically act as judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to, well, to you, to your property, to your freedom. There's nobody to answer to. Like if you had this Waters of the USA, which was pushed by Barack Obama and Joe Biden, where basically on my property, I have a little piece of property not too far from where I live, and if you have water on that property, the way it's supposed to be previously, navigable water. If it could be navigated, it could be regulated. But unnavigable water would not be touched. But they tried to change all that, basically to the point of having mud puddles or seasonal water on your property could be something the government could regulate. That's been thrown out. These sorts of complete overreach by government agencies has created a lot of anger in citizens, as it should. I don't need the government coming on my property and telling me how to regulate an area that gets wet twice a year in the spring and the fall because it rains a bunch and then there's a wet hole. Well, we need to regulate that. No, you don't. Get off of my property. Okay? So the Supreme Court showdown The outcome could expand presidential authority over the Federal Trade Commission and other independent agencies, because the question is, it's about the president's ability to fire members of these independent agencies, and the outcome could expand executive power and have far-reaching implications. The High Court revealed in an order last week it would revisit Humphrey's Executor v. United States, a 1935 decision that some say is now on life support, including my friend Hans von Spakovsky from the Heritage Foundation. The Constitution says the president is the head of the executive branch. That means just like the CEO of a big corporation, they get to supervise and run the entire corporation, or in this case, the entire executive branch. And you can't have Congress taking parts of that away from him and saying, well, they're going to keep doing the executive branch things, including law enforcement, but you won't have any control over them. You see, when these agencies become this powerful, they create rules. And the rules are akin to laws. And if you break the rules, and like the EPA, like I was talking about, or the waters of the USA, then they can come in and say, well, you broke the rules, here's your fine. And you say, well, wait a second, I didn't break the rules, I want to go to court. Well, there's no court to go to, you see, because many of these decisions are then reviewed by the same agency that issued the decision in the first place. You have no recourse. There is no due process with these agencies. So they say, well, you violated our rule, here's your fine. And if it gets really serious, they can go farther. They can seize your property. They can put you in jail. And these agencies, many of them have armed agents now representing them. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? I know how I feel about it. I don't feel good about it at all. I think it's wrong. So, the High Court said in a 6-3 emergency decision, Trump's termination of the Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter from the FTC could remain in place for now while it uses her case to take on Humphrey's Executor, which centered on an FTC firing under Franklin Roosevelt. The High Court found Roosevelt could not fire a commissioner without cause. Well, we'll find out now, won't we? Roosevelt, by the way, a switch in time saves 9. Roosevelt pushed the Supreme Court to the breaking point and then threatened to pack the court if they didn't start going along with his New Deal initiatives. They bent the knee, as they say. So who was a dictator? Franklin Roosevelt? Was he a dictator? Was he a tyrant? Was he a fascist? Because he demanded compliance from the Supreme Court and got it by threatening them with a packed court? Huh. Something to consider. Anyhow, we'll see where this comes out. This ruling will reach beyond the Federal Trade Commission. If this happens the way it could, 6-3, the administrative state could be dead in America, thank God. The only question is whether they maintain that the Federal Reserve is different. That's the only thing being said here. We'll keep an eye on this case and so much more. Coming up in a moment here, I'm going to have Mike Bishop, my former member of Congress, a man I like a lot, by the way. Mike Bishop joining us here to talk about a variety of things. Don't go anywhere. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Monday.
Can you hear me all right?
All right. The political divide in America, man, has it been this bad? We're in a different place now. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attack on ICE facilities, the protests, the violent protests in places like Portland, Oregon, the attack at a Mormon church in Grand Blanc Township yesterday. It is an unsettling time. My next guest was my member of Congress from 2015 to 2019, Mike Bishop, an attorney and former congressman for me. Mike, nice to have you back on the program.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you. I always thought you were a great member of Congress, and I thought that, well, it was too bad when you lost. I was not pleased, to say the least.
Well, I wasn't either. I agree.
Yeah, I bet you were not. So what are you doing these days? Give people a quick update.
I am doing what I always have done, which is practice law. The vast majority of my professional life has been in the private sector, and that's what I went back to. And I'm blessed to have had that kind of predicate career that I could go back to. And so to me, it was not a big transition going from public to private.
Any thoughts of ever going into politics again?
Well, I think once you have that public service bug, it's something that doesn't go away. It's always a flare. In fact, I'm thinking about it right now. John James has decided to run for governor, and he's vacated the 10th seat in over here on the east side of Michigan, and it's my district. So it's a temptation. It's something that I love to do, and born and raised in this community. So it's an easy kind of move for me to do if I wanted to do it. I just am looking for it. Timing is always the issue.
Well, timing's an issue, but I think I just heard somebody say that they're thinking about running for that seat, and we wish you well if you do. I'm not sure we made news there. I mean, you can announce right now. We'll do it right here.
No news to make here. I mean, I've been thinking about it. I just have not gotten to that point where I'm comfortable with it yet, and it's more about my family than anything else.
Understood. Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about this political divide. I mean, the execution, which is what it was a public execution of Charlie Kirk here almost 3 weeks ago. It's stunning to think it's been that long already. But that just underscores, emphasizes the divide in this country. And I've been saying to people, I think it gets worse from here. Mike, I do. I think I would not be shocked if I heard about people wearing red hats being shot for wearing red hats. Random people, ordinary people. I mean, would you be shocked if you heard that today?
I've been through political violence. I've seen it firsthand. It has gotten worse. And to answer your question very succinctly, I would not be surprised. And no. I don't want to be the one to be the precursor on that one and for, foreshadow that. I think our country has gotten to the point where we've lost our ability to have civil discourse about just about anything.
Well, you can't call me a Nazi when I'm just your neighbor. You can't call me a fascist when I'm a father. You can't call me a white supremacist when I'm just an American who has a different opinion than you. But this is what's happening. And I don't know what the facts are, or if we ever will tomorrow, or about what happened yesterday from this Grand Blanc attack. Here's a guy who apparently had no connection to that church, drives in, shoots people up, sets the place on fire, And you have to wonder, is it because of things about Christian nationalists being the enemy of America? Of course, he's got Trump shirts on in a couple of pictures, so they're going to try to troll that around as best they can. But it's another attack on Christianity is what it looks like to me. Your thoughts on that?
I think so. I think it's on the conservative cause in general. But I do believe, especially in Charlie Kirk's case, there's a man who wore his faith on his shirt sleeve.
Sure did.
He was a man who taught people, who spoke in such a way as to do it with conviction, but never raised his voice. He was a once in a generation, maybe a once in a lifetime kind of person. And they took him out because he was effective at what he did. He was turning people because of his effectiveness in talking about his faith and his beliefs. And I think that's the threat out there. And when people see it, they just can't deal with it. It's a derangement to the point where they will drive to wherever they have to kill people they don't even know. That happened with me, as you know, in Virginia that day.
That's right.
When we were playing baseball, practicing for the charity game. And someone drove all the way from Illinois and decided that they're going to kill Republicans. It's unfortunately a trend that we're seeing that it's so concerning to me that I've spent pretty much most of my career after Congress traveling around talking to people about civility and discourse in such a way as to be tolerant and respectful. But it's not something that we do anymore. And if we do it, we don't do it well.
Yeah. You were on the field, and if not for Steve Scalise's protective detail of a couple of folks, that day on that baseball field could have been the end of the line for you and a whole bunch of other folks, couldn't it?
I'm telling you that would have been a massacre, because we would not have been able to get out of that field. There was only one way out of that field, and fortunately, with the bravery of that detail that came around with just a service revolver, ran right past me, firing his weapon at a person that was probably, 75 yards away. I don't know if you've ever shot a revolver, but it's not easy to do on the run like that and to hit anything.
To hit anything. A revolver at 70, at that range is questionable at best. Anyhow, last quick question. We only got about 30 seconds here. When would we hear an announcement from you? I think that's very exciting. Obviously, you'd be representing a new district in Michigan. When might you come to a decision?
I haven't come to a decision yet. I've been thinking about it all summer long. Again, this all comes down to my family, and that's been the concern with me. And I don't know that I have a specific date. I will just keep an eye on it. I want to be helpful to that district. That's not going to be an easy district to hold.
That's right. It's a competitive district, but you've been there before too. Mike Bishop, nice to see you, my friend.
Great to see you too.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll talk again soon. There you have it, folks.
Have a great day.
Common sense guy. One of the people we need in Washington. So I hope he gives that full consideration. We could use him in Congress for sure. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so I told you this earlier. I didn't get to this earlier. I want to get to this now because these 5G towers New 5G towers. They look like they have a diameter of like 4 or 5 feet. I mean, these things are huge, right? They're putting them up in New York City, apparently. They're not particularly attractive. They're 32 feet high. They look like a giant lint roller. That's what it looks like to me, a giant lint roller. Because it's got about, I don't know, 20 feet or maybe a little bit more before it has this head on it, right? This giant thing for 5G, apparently. They're hideous. And now New Yorkers are going to be given a warning. At least they're hoping to. They call them an eyesore. They've been popping up in the middle of the night across the boroughs, plan to go up in their block, according to New York City. A new city council bill introduced this past week. It would require the city to notify those living within 500 feet of a proposed 32-foot cell tower at least 30 days in advance. Making sure there's real conversation about these. And the other question is, are they safe? Well, what kind of frequencies, what kind of, energy are these things emitting? When there's garbage on the street, the Department of Sanitation reminds property owners every day that the sidewalk is their responsibility. When the sidewalk is uneven, the Department of Transportation reminds property owners every single day that the sidewalk is their responsibility. But when the Office of Technology and Innovation wants to install a 32-foot tower on somebody's sidewalk, they don't think they need to tell anybody. That doesn't make any sense, he says, Councilmember Lincoln Ressler. So, 5G towers, 32 feet high. Look like a giant lint roll. I don't know what else to call it. Strange looking thing. Yeah. This part of the program brought to you by my friends at PuroVet. PuroVet's part of PuroClean. PuroVet puts veterans at the front of the line to get a brand new franchise in the world of reclamation to clean up after a disaster, tornado, flood, whatever it might be. Could be a house fire like I had. You can find them online. If you're a veteran and you know somebody who is, you can be at the front of the line for your own franchise. Purovet.com. Purovet.com or 855-PUROVET. Give them a call. 855-PUROVET. Give them a call. It's a great program for veterans. More than 500 franchises now across the nation and growing every day. Play, look, if you're just somebody who wants a franchise, you can have that too. Check it out. All right, my next guest is Michigan State Rep Dave Preston. He represents Michigan's 108th House District, way up north, where the leaves are turning, I think. Dave, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Are the leaves turning?
Yes, they are.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a great
nice
time of year.
Yep.
For people who've never, and it's weird to me, I talk to people that have lived in Michigan years. I've never been to the UP. How could you not go to the UP? What is wrong with you? I mean, what a great place. Anyhow, good to have you back on the program. I guess we got a state budget put together in Michigan, but it doesn't, it leaves a lot to be desired from what I can tell, but I think you guys passed something, right? Tell the folks.
Well, we've got a framework. You know, we're on a three-legged stool. We are only one leg, and we have agreed upon framework that definitely reins in spending. We're going to see a curvature of the state spending start to slide over. We're looking at possibly under $81 billion, which is a big time adjustment from the last two budget cycles. And there's a lot in here to be hopeful of. You know, there's a ton of waste, fraud, and abuse. There's a ton of ghost employees. The ghost
Wait a second,
employees-
Dave. You added waste, fraud, and abuse? I'm kidding. Go on.
Well, we're digging in, and there's a lot to be happy about here. You know, going forward, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to deliver true relief on road funding. We're looking at just short of $2 billion worth of hard road funding that's going to go into local roads, urban roads, and really show relief where people, I think, feel it the most, which is on the local road level. We're going to protect Public Act 51, and that's the formula that conveys a lot of those funds to the localities and to our local road commissions and municipalities. So, I mean, when you only have one chamber out of the three areas of government, we're at a place where we're feeling really good, and I'm happy that the governor got involved and that there's bipartisan support on this. Targets have been set for all the subcommittees, and everybody's working feverishly right now to get the job done, to keep the government rolling.
There you go. Keep the government rolling. But see, when I say there's a lot to be desired, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, Dave. You and I have talked enough.
Right.
What concerns me is that we spend, even with this budget, you say it's down at $81 billion. So it was, how high did it get? 83, 84? So it's down a little bit, right?
Right.
But we're still $30 billion higher than Pennsylvania. It just makes no sense to me to sit here and say, how does Michigan spend $30 billion more than the state of Pennsylvania, which has more people? It's a bigger state, bigger, metro areas. You know, we have Detroit. They've got Pittsburgh. They've got Philly. They've got other areas, right? How do we spend so much money and get such little results?
At the end of the day, Steve, we're incredibly inefficient with government. And that's just that when you look at the bureaucracies throughout the state and compare them to DC,
Right.
I was on another interview one time and they coined it Lansington. And it's not a far cry,
Lansington. That's pretty funny.
It's not a far cry because the bureaucratic setup as far as the state departments in Michigan are a lot like Washington. And this state is just really administratively heavy. And we waste a tremendous amount of money with our bureaucracies that are not here to serve the people. They're actually inhibiting the people from economic growth, economic development, and just getting out from under the thumb of government. So I think a lot of what frustrates you as well as me is the fact that we need to get these departments reined in. We need to shrink them. We need to get rid of the regulatory abuse and burden that it brings on the businesses and the people of Michigan. And I think then you're going to see a much more streamlined budget and a much more effective government. But we can only do that if we have more than just one chamber in government.
That's exactly right. We've got to move this forward. And okay, so there's some hope there. I'll give you that, Dave. There's some positive signs. We're trimming it back. But we have to, and look, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I've never been registered with any party. When I say we the people, need to get our hands back on the wheel. We, the ordinary, the normies out here, the normal folks, need to say, no, we can't spend money on this pet project and that pet project. Yes, fix the roads. Make sure that things in this state are working well. Make sure the bridges and the infrastructure is in good shape. That's number one for a lot of folks here, right? Let's get things taken care of. I mean, because that's the other thing. You look at states like Pennsylvania or Ohio, their roads are better. Everything seems to be in better shape, has been taken care of better. And we've got to make this place business friendly too, which means lower taxes, lower regulation, lower the burden to getting businesses, good companies here. When we lose a car plant to Indiana, we're doing something wrong, Dave. That's my take.
100%. As a former small business owner, I can remember when I first got into the Upper Peninsula, reached out to the MEDC, and I was largely ignored because I wasn't employing enough people. That's just not how the state should be working. And at the end of the day, you know, when you're looking at things like, you know, our sales tax used to be on our fuel and our diesel fuel, gasoline and diesel fuel. That's regressive. So this budget is going to take sales tax off of gasoline, off of diesel fuel, and replace it with an excise tax like 45 other states in the country do currently, where all of the taxation on the gasoline and diesel fuel goes into the roads instead of the general fund. You know, Michigan has found itself, as far as its tax setup, in just an incredibly regressive situation where they do it wrong on almost all levels. So, like I said, this state is really broken from an efficiency standpoint, and this one really takes a big step forward on permanent road funding, and we got some wins out of this. Some serious.
Let me ask you something else here, Dave. Well, I got you, because the push for ending Michigan property tax is getting stronger. Look, people are angry. This whole Green New Deal thing is pushed. I mean, the price of electricity and utilities here is going up. In some places around the country, it's off the charts. The Northeast, they got rid of all their coal-fired power plants. Brilliant, by the way. Yeah. But so somebody pays off their mortgage, but their electric bill's up 2 or 3 times. Their property taxes are up. And if you don't pay your property tax, the government comes and takes your house. After they've paid off, if they've worked a career and contributed to this country of ours and built something great, and then the government can come steal their house anyway? I got people online mentioning this right now, so I wanted to bring it up. What do you think about the AXE-MI tax, AXE, the Michigan tax, property tax initiative?
I am largely in favor of it for the reason that it would really push the state of Michigan, the legislature, the governor's office, and everybody into a situation where we had to rethink how Michigan is taxed. And you're 100% right. You know, you don't always want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but in all situations, or really in any, but this is one of them where I think AXE-MI tax, if it did go through, would push the entire legislature and the governor's office into a situation where they're going to need to reinvent the way Michigan taxes its people and its businesses. They're going to it would force them to really look at the way that we spend our money. We have a runaway DHS budget where we are spending just millions of dollars on needless.
That's exactly right. Here's the thing, Dave, and I'm out of time, sadly, but I will say this. If Michigan was bold and got rid of income tax like 9 other states now, and was really bold and got rid of property tax, you want to see investment and economic activity explode in Michigan? That's a 1-2 punch to success. Dave, I got to run. Greatly appreciate you always.
Look at Florida. You just need to look at Florida.
Exactly. We'd be the Florida of the North. Wait, that's weird. They're a peninsula. We're a peninsula. Yeah, we'd figure it out. Dave, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And watch out for that waste, fraud, and abuse. Dave Preston from Michigan's 108th. Greatly appreciate him. Ivy Watch. Let me see. Is she in the room yet? I don't know. Is she here? Is she here?
Welcome back to a Monday. Steve Gruber is standing by, waiting to come on. He and everybody else at the break were like, Ivy, you have to open the show. Welcome him back.
See?
And so here I am doing that. Steve, it is a Monday. Why is it that it always seems like we're always...
See, she did it. She's like, I don't want to do that. Yeah, why not? Give the people what they want. All right, anyhow, what's up?
It's always sad to report on things like church shootings.
Oh, good Lord.
It's kind of, I'm growing exhausted of it. And I wonder, have we always been this crazy, or we live in a world that the information is so instant that we hear about every single thing that happens?
That's part of it right there.
You know,
that's part of it. And so Driving Miss Daisy is the first thing that pops in mind, the movie Driving Miss Daisy. Remember that movie, of course?
I do, yeah.
And she was Jewish, right? And Morgan Freeman, whatever his character's name was, pulls up to the synagogue one morning, and it's been set on fire. Remember that scene?
Yeah.
And then they drive away. Look, political violence, attacks on churches and attacks in this country are not new. They might be more prevalent now. But this thing in your hand, when everything is instant gratification, instant destruction of dissemination, of the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in front of you 24 hours a day. Look.
Well, we were sitting in church at the same time yesterday, and I couldn't imagine, I think about if something similar would have occurred in our situation, all of a sudden the building shakes. You're like, what the heck just happened? I think the natural instinct would be, let's go outside and see.
Right.
And in which case the criminal started shooting people.
Let me give you an example. You asked this question about how information is instant. May of 1927, there was a school bombing.
In Michigan, right?
In Bath, Michigan, right here. Dozens of people were killed. People had permanent injuries in that town for the rest of their lives. And, I don't know if anybody's still alive from that, but probably not at this point. But the fact of the matter is, that would have been the lead story of a guy who was anti-taxes. He was a janitor in the school. He was angry about the taxes, and he packed the place full of dynamite. Only half the load went up. If the other half of the load had gone up, it would have been far worse. But the Bath school bombing in 1927, the worst school attack ever.
I had family in that.
Did you really?
98 years ago.
Crazy.
And so you think about that. It's been almost 100 years since the worst attack on a school ever. But it didn't, it made it to the New York Times days later, or the Chicago Tribune days later. It took time. And so people didn't, and you didn't have pictures and images. Today you'd have people bleeding and bodies and stuff and everything, right? You'd have it all there, full living color right in front of you constantly. I think you're onto it exactly right.
Well, I feel terrible, of course, for the families. And
sure.
Do we know anything about the victims, like who?
I have seen nothing about the victims yet, about who they are.
Who they are.
I know there's 4. 2 that were shot and 2 that were found in the fire. They may have been shot. They may not have. I don't know the details there. And, of course, then you've got the killer, 40-year-old guy who's got pictures of him wearing a Trump shirt at least one place. So you know where MSNBC and Chicken Noodle News will take this. Oh, he's a Trump supporter, blah, blah, blah.
We don't have any idea of the accuracy of that photo, do we?
I don't. I've seen one photo.
Well, that's what you were talking about earlier about the just being really angry about all these conspiracy theories. And I agree, because it is all conjecture. It's all opinion. Until we have fact, we don't really know. And there is an investigation going on. And I just, people slow down the film. They speed up the film. They're like, everybody is an expert.
I'm so sick of it.
Stop it.
And
that's what happens in any of these scenarios. But we do know that, persecution of Christians and Jews around the world is a serious issue.
Yeah, it is.
Especially
Anthony just made a good point I want to point out. He said, they had photoshopped pictures, or however they do that, AI generated pictures.
Of the shooter of
Tyler Robinson with Trump shirts, which were completely bogus.
Completely made up.
Correct. So the fair point that he makes. Anyhow, go on.
And who knows where those images come from? somebody with a hateful heart, but it's also, like I always point out, the Chinese Communist Party and Russia and who knows who else, I'm sure, out there with these bot farms that just create all of this false information. And when you think about TikTok being the leading news source these days, especially for young people, that should be really frightening. And hey, Trump, can we fast forward this whole, deal being made with TikTok? Because we know for a fact that the Chinese Communist Party puts especially images and videos specifically to target young people. Say, here's the bad stuff going on. I actually, when I recall the what was it? The riots happening after George Floyd, and I was being inundated with the video of the cop on the guy's throat, on George Floyd's throat, and all this. That's all. You don't see anything else. And the same thing occurred during a couple of the riots that were going on.
Sure.
You're only seeing the police take down these rioters who are destroying businesses,
You don't see
causing
the
hundreds of
predicating
millions
in-
of dollars in damage. You don't see them attacking the buildings. What you
Right,
see
you don't
is
see
the
the
police
predicate.
doing what the police are trying to do.
That's right.
And then it almost makes you seem like it's, well, I feel sorry for the protesters. And that's
No.
exactly what they're trying to do, if you can think critically about that. But as a young person looking at all this stuff, you're like, oh, these terrible cops. But that is exactly what they do purposely.
Well, that's what they're trying
So,
to generate. That's why you have attacks on ICE officers. That's why you have attack on Border Patrol agents. That's why you have a police officer shot and killed in America last night. It's happening too regularly. You have
Right.
police officers being killed. But, they get spit on. They get disrespected. The police officers being called the Gestapo. If you're calling the police officers Gestapo, where does it lead? Real
But
quick.
not only that, but we have a shortage of police officers in this country, and we wonder why.
Yeah.
When you villainize them.
Over and over and over.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Well, you want to take us to break?
Hey, we'll be right back.
Oh, you forgot one part. Love you.
Love you.
All right. All right, I've got some good news before we close the program today. Right? Got some good news. And Anthony was part of this, and Ivy was part of this. Sister Sarah was part of this. Input and reflecting on it. And we've got a big merch drop coming soon. All new Gruber merch. I'm talking T-shirts. I'm talking wicking, athletic gear. I'm talking hoodies, mugs, all of it. And everybody inputted on it. I really like these long sleeve, lightweight wicking shirts that I guess they're probably designed for fishing, but I love them. Real popular with me. Anthony, what are you? You're a hoodie guy, right?
Yeah, I like hoodies.
Right. So we got one of these hoodies. We got is high end.
Caps.
What's that?
Or the trucker caps.
With trucker caps, yeah. And we got some new hats. Forgot about that. The hats are coming. The one hat company I tried to get, I couldn't figure out how to get them. But the one hoodie, I mean, it's a high end deal. We've got a couple different ones, depending on your level of support. And so they'll have some sayings on them. And I got people here on the chat saying, hey, make sure you put Ivy Watch on. So, all right, it's fine, whatever. We can do all sorts of sayings on them. Who do you want in your foxhole? The foxhole of freedom, no panic zone, whatever we write. Only you can save America, that sort of thing. Right? Only you can save America. Remember that. Anyhow, so this merchandise, I don't know, what do we think? A week or two it's going to be available? Something like that. Kind of fired up over it, right? Kind of fired up. So you should be as well. And there'll be a place you can go. There'll be a whole store, the whole Gruber store. And you can have it. It'll be on my website. It'll be here, and I'll tell you all about it. So, folks, there it is. Made. I hope so, Ken. I hope so. I don't have control over all of that. All right, need an Ivy Watch, says Mark. All right, fine. We'll be on it. Just for you guys. We'll be on it. Whatever we can do. Whatever we can do. As we try to save this country, maybe one of them should just say freedom, in respect to Charlie Kirk. Maybe that's one of them. All right. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. Remember, work harder. Be better. All right? We'll see you soon.